So for this reason, the first stage of the communication process can often involve pre-submission inquiries. Be effective, save yourself valuable time. Make sure you are looking at the journals your international colleagues use for their submissions, and choose high, but choose appropriately. We have techniques and tricks that we can give you access to help you make effective journal selections. And don't forget that there's no limit to the number of these kinds of email inquiries you can send to editors. You commit yourself to nothing. So why not get in touch with us at the end of this presentation, or when you're listening back to this presentation in the future, and we'll send you templates. We'll send you Word document, email templates that you can use to effectively get your journal pre-submission inquiries out there so that you can tee up a journal before you get started. So communicate with editors, write to as many as you like. This will help you to select a target journal effectively. And what you do is you reach out to editors with your abstract, with your title, and you ask them, would this be a paper that you'd consider suitable for publication in this particular outlet? One approach to this, and this will give you an inside line on the publishing process, because of course editors will come back to you and they'll say, sure, we think this article is appropriate for this journal, please submit it. Or they may come back to you and say, actually, it's not suitable for this journal, but we have another journal in our family that will be more suitable. Why don't you send it there? And so this initial communication step works well in terms of maximizing your efficiency as an author, because you've already then got a journal lined up before you start the writing process, before you start the submission process. You're already in the head of the editor before you go ahead and put your article into the system. And this, of course, means that when the paper comes into the submission system, the editor is expecting it. They remember their communication with you over email, and they're looking at your article potentially more favorably when they make decisions about what to do. So here's a template, and we'll send you this as an email, as a Word document, so you can rewrite it, you can use it in your own work, and why not write to a number of target journals before you get started on your next submission. A template that you can use for those pre-submission inquiries that you make to journals. And another thing that's worth thinking about as an author is, of course, the use of preprint servers. These servers, online repositories for finished academic articles, either in draft form or in pre-review form, are also very useful for authors, because you have then an online repository for your academic work. You can put your work out there so colleagues can see it before peer review and online publication, and input from the community within your research area can, of course, then significantly improve the quality of the final published article. Very well worth thinking about doing as an author. You have the opportunity to get your work quickly visible to the community, get peer feedback, even get review feedback, and journal editors monitor these platforms, these preprint servers. They also look at these preprint servers. They may select papers in their own subject areas and come to you as an author and say, why not submit this article to our journal? So it's another way of getting ahead of the curve, expediting the process as an insider recommendation for maximizing your publishing potential. Work gets shared fast with other interested researchers. Peer review can happen fast and open if appropriate, and journal editors use preprint servers to select articles. Authors always ask us, what about my copyright? What about my intellectual property? Don't worry. These preprint servers, if they're reputable, and of course, again, we can help you to make sure that you're selecting reputable preprint servers of, out of the many that are available out there, but your priority and author intellectual property are, of course, protected when you make submissions to these platforms by what's called a Creative Commons license, a CC license. So if I put a document onto a preprint server, some work that I've recently completed, it has to be cited. It's got a DOI number, a document object identifier number. It's got a CC license. Other researchers have to cite my document. They can't use it without priority being afforded. So this is another way in which you can definitely get ahead of the curve as a writing and publishing author. So journals select from these preprint servers. You can avail yourself of full open peer review on these sites, and we'll give you a comprehensive list. If you get in touch with us, if you're listening to this presentation and you'd like some more information about preprints, please get in touch with us. We'll give you a comprehensive guide to preprints as a free gift at the end of the presentation. And I would say that these are a good idea for authors because you get your work out there. You communicate your work to your field, to your peers in your subject area quickly and effectively. Then, of course, your paper goes into the submission system. And what happens at journals in the first step of article submission is the process of editorial triage. It's like getting hit by a bus. You get rushed to the hospital and a doctor decides what's going to happen next, the triage process. Editors, desk editors, academic editors, if you cast your mind back to that slide we looked at before, the different kinds of editors, these are the subject area specialists. They are going to be thinking, does this fit with the journal's scope? Does this article have a clear message? Is it original? Is it important? Is it true? And is it relevant to our readers? So you have to sell yourself to the journal. This is part of the communication process. And of course, you are going to go to journals with high impact factors, quality journals. So you are going to compete with lots of other articles for space in those journals. So you've got to clearly communicate to editors why your work is important, why it's relevant to those readers. And so this is the first step really of the submission communication process that authors go through. So as we move ourselves around that academic publishing cycle, you've come up with your idea. You've hopefully won lots of funding for that idea. You've collected your data. You've selected your journal, as we've already discussed in this webinar. And now you're getting into the writing and submission stage of the process. The cover letter in this context then is absolutely crucial. This is how you effectively communicate the message of your work to an editor. Don't waste the opportunity to sell your work. Don't write something dull, boring, or derivative. We get lots of cover letters from lots of authors all the time, and often they are boring. Please consider this manuscript for publication in your esteemed journal. You have to tell the editor why they should take your work seriously. You have to sell your work, communicate your work to the journal. Now, I get many submissions to the journals that I'm responsible for every day, and very often authors don't even bother to write a cover letter. Here is the worst kind, but it's very common. Authors just don't write anything. They just make a submission to a journal and they expect us, the editors, who may not be subject area specialists, we may not know why this paper is important or interesting. We have to make decisions about what's going to happen next. Without any information, your chances of rejection are very high. Your chances of not going out for peer review are high. You've got to tell the editor why the paper is important. In fact, most authors do write a cover letter. They do attempt to communicate with editors, but they don't put anything important into the cover letter. They just write something here that's quick, that's boring, please find our paper enclosed, which we hope you will find interesting. Yours sincerely, Gareth. That is, again, a wasted opportunity. You are going to write a cover letter with your submission, communicating to the editor that captures their attention, tells them why the work is important, tells them why the work is a breakthrough, and tells them why the paper should be interesting for the readership of that journal. And don't forget to put suggestions for peer reviewers into that cover letter. Some suggestions for reviewers are, here's what you need to have in that communication step, in that submission to that journal to capture your editor's attention. So maximize your chances of success. This, of course, the cover letter is one of the first sections that an editor's going to read. So you've got to make it count. You've got to tell your editor why the topic is important, why the results are significant, what's the key result, why is this an advance on previous work, why are you submitting to this journal, and don't forget to put those reviewer suggestions into the cover letter as well. Again, we will give you a template at the end of this presentation if you get in touch with us or get in touch with our colleagues at Bentham Science to give you an email template that you can use, a Word document template that you can